Hello, and welcome to Pints and Quarts, a show presented by Craft Beer Nation. Today is May the 7th, 2015, and we have two guests this hour. We've got Jamie Floyd and Nikos Ridge. They are the co-founders of Ninkasi Brewing in Eugene, Oregon. Those Oregonians know a little something about making craft beer, and these guys are helping to lead the charge. Tonight we're sponsored again by craftbeveragejobs.com. You've heard me say it before. They are quickly becoming the best resource online for finding jobs in the beer, wine, and coffee industries. We do want you to stick around for our conversation with Jamie and Nikos, so get your beer in a glass and get comfortable. In fact, while the music's playing, this would be a great time to take a few seconds and subscribe to our YouTube, Stitcher, or iTunes channels.
Time now for a look back at the last week in the craft beer industry. Pour a cold one and sit back for an all-new episode of Pints and Quarts, presented by Craft Beer Nation.
All right, thanks for joining us, everybody. We've got Jamie and Nikos from Ninkasi Brewing. We've got Gil Mello, Charles Dunkley, Lola Larsey, Randy Gardner Jr., Victoria Perigin, and myself, Matt Miller. A full panel here tonight. Everybody's excited to talk to these guys. They are doing it the right way. They're in Oregon, and we're glad to have them on. Guys, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, let's dive right in. Well, we have to dive right in theoretically because only a few of us are in your distribution area. We're kind of an East Coast group for the most part. Victoria, our lone West Coast member here tonight, and she does have your, what's that, the summer rain you've got? Or spring rain? Summer rain?
Spring rain.
I have spring rain.
Spring rain. All right. And she's been guzzling that down. That's why it sounds like I have. I can't remember the name of the beer. But tell us a little bit about your seasonal, that seasonal there, guys.
Spring rain is actually the first seasonal that we ever made. It was based on one of the very first recipes I got to make as a professional brewer back in the 90s. I wanted to do an experimental beer with a new ingredient that was being imported into the United States, which was biscuit malt, which is now readily available, but at the time it was its first appearance in the U.S., and so I wanted to make a beer that was pretty simple with just the use of biscuit malt. I really love the flavor combination because it dries out. Biscuit malt has a real toasty flavor to it, and it dries out and makes for a real easy drinking beer that's different than a lot of the pale ales that have a caramel malt stuff that gives us a grounded flavor. This batch of beer is totally different in terms of it's a little stronger in alcohol content, using totally different hops, but sort of a throwback to the original days.
All right, you said that was back in when you first became a professional brewer. When was that?
That was in 1995.
All right, tell us a little bit about that. How did you get into this whole mess?
Well, I actually started brewing when I was 17. I was a college student at the University of Oregon, and did it as a hobby throughout college. When I graduated from college, I was using some of my back skills, and that I started cooking when I was 12 years old, and ended up being the kitchen manager at Steelhead Brew Pub, which is the pub chain that started in Eugene, Oregon. I worked there for about a year, management capacity, and then there was an opening for an assistant brewer position, and I got offered the job. Back then, you could work at a brewery, be a home brewer, and have no idea that you could be a brewer professionally. So things definitely changed in the last 15 years. And worked there for 11 years before meeting Nikos and starting Ninkasi. And I wanted to bring back one of the original beers that I made. That beer at Steelhead was called Star Child's Pale Ale. It was my music tribute beer for George Clinton in Parliament Funkadelic. So Spring Rain was originally going to be called Spring Loaded, but the TTB wasn't so happy with the word loaded in it, and it was going to be kind of our Guns and Roses tribute beer. It had poppy coming out of specials instead, but changed it up a little bit and turned it into Spring Rain.
So the TTB got involved and had you rename a beer, but against the grain can do the things that.
Well, and you can say take no out of your vocabulary. That's okay.
Yeah, the TTB okay. So it's all right to promote this as a date rape kind of thing, but it's not. All right.
And also.
Well, it was funny too because they weren't as upset about the guns that we had as they were about the word loaded and the reference to intoxication.
But there's a beer I saw called Soft DK. I can't remember who makes that, but I was like,
Brew Dogs.
Brew Dogs.
Yeah.
I guess they aren't governed by the TTB.
Well, they can do
They're
whatever they
worse.
want.
There's
All
worse
right,
over there.
so Jamie's got the beer background. What do you need Nikos for? I mean, it sounds like you got it all covered there.
Good question. Still get asked that every day. I actually applied to be Jamie's assistant brewer at Steelhead before we started Ninkasi, and he didn't hire me then, so I had to figure out another way. That's a true story.
Yeah.
But I grew up in Eugene. I grew up in the Northwest and moved to the East Coast, lived in New York City, worked in finance out there, and then came back and really wanted to be in the Northwest and wanted to do something less abstract than finance. And food and beverage, a lot of the quality of life things that we have out here in the Northwest. So when I met Jamie and he was at a point in his career where he was ready to start his own brewery, I had some skills that would help that process along. And so since we've started, that's kind of been how we've divided our focus. I mean, I'm able to kind of handle the business aspects of the company, and he's focused on the beer side of things. Of course, there's a lot of crossover, and then when we started, it was just the two of us, so there was a ton of learning by doing for both of us and in each other's sort of areas of expertise. But it's made for a great partnership because it really allows us to defer to each other's strengths and really work together towards our
So
processes.
you go to New York City and work in finance. That's got to be a soul-sucking kind of venture there. So going back to the Pacific Northwest just probably had to feel good on all kind of fronts.
Oh yeah, I was happy to get back for sure. I mean, it was a lot of fun too. I mean, I love New York. I'm actually going there next week for vacation. But yeah, in terms of having grown up here and where I knew I wanted to live, it was just really nice to get back for sure.
And just to point out as well, Nikos worked on the stock exchange floor for a long time, and he's actually the youngest person to ever have a license to trade on the stock exchange floor in the United States.
Wow.
Nice.
Maybe there's some 13-year-old savant now that's done it, but Nikos got in early, and when we had the one time to visit down there, he could have actually traded stocks because it was still good to go at least then.
You know, there's another word that usually comes in front of savant. So I'm just, I think you're much happier doing what you're doing now. So, the success of Ninkasi, I mean, you can't hardly turn a page in a beer magazine and not hear rewards and accolades for the beer you're making. Take us through a little bit of your lineup, and what are the beers that really have gotten you guys noticed out there? What do I need to tell Gil to bring back from the West?
Vanilla oats.
The very first beer that we made in day one that was an 18-hour brew day for the two of us was the first batch of Total Domination IPA, and that still makes up 55%-ish of what we make in any given week or a couple of weeks. And sort of was the benchmark back when we started, at least in the Pacific Northwest, we have hundreds of great brew pubs that were all making IPAs, but there wasn't a lot of IPA available and sort of more of a production orientation. And so we really looked at ourselves as wanting the opportunity to make what we thought at the time were niche beers that are not as popular styles. So we started off with the Total Domination IPA. We made a pale ale called Kontrol Pale Ale that we still make just for our local area. That was kind of our lightest beer for a long time until we got into some other styles. We have Otis Oatmeal Stout and Vanilla Otis. The only difference between the two is real Madagascar vanilla beans. But Otis was our second winter seasonal, and that became so popular we kept it year-round. And we have Tricera hops, they're double IPA. Got a very different hop characteristic than the Total Domination. And in all cases, we like to make beers that have a lot of balance, really focus on the drinkability aspect of beer. So even our double IPA is extremely quaffable at 8%. It is 100 IBUs, but has a lot of malt background. It really magnifies the flavor of hops in beer, but draws less intensity for the raw bitterness up front. So the human palate's really only capable of 70 or 80 IBUs perception anyway, so it's IBUs can be sort of misleading as far as beers go. So those are kind of the beers that we started with. Back when we started, I think Ruination was the only year-round double IPA that was available, and in our area that was actually just a seasonal, but down in California, Stone was doing that year-round. So I had one medals at the Great American Beer Fest for double IPAs when I worked at Steelhead, and so we kind of went out there and made beers that were not as popular at the time compared to, say, like American Hefeweizens, porters, amber ales, but now they obviously lead the pack in terms of that. So that's one of the great benefits of our success, is that we sort of saw the opportunity early on, and sort of the world joined in and said yes.
Well, tell me a little bit about your ground control. I'm very curious about that beer.
So we went through a process to launch a rocket. It ended up being 2 rockets that went into space with yeast on them, and then the goal is to move back and stay viable so they got them. So, the first launch we did out of Nevada, at Black Rock Desert, running in site. Launched with CSXT. They were the first and the only amateur team ever to successfully launch anything in space. And they were successful, and then it did reach space and came back, but out launching for about 30 days. And then first found the yeast not viable and came back. And then,
So that's the second time you're doing this beer?
what's that?
Was that the second time you're doing this beer, or?
That was the first. That was the first launch. And so when that was not successful, then we were able to work with a couple of members of that group, part of a commercial operation that launches out of Spaceport America in New Mexico. And so we did a second launch with yeast, which then we were able to recover in a viable state and then bring it back and brew a beer with it. And the result of that is ground control. But it was a pretty involved project. When we first got into it, I mean, it was drinking beers and running, mutual friends. They were into rockets. We make beer. So drinking beers and talking about, wow, that would be awesome if we sent something into space and then brewed beer with it. And so from that idea, it ended up being a year and a half of a lot of effort, a lot of energy, a lot of work that went into it. That was ultimately successful, but it was a big undertaking. And so now the beer's out. We're super excited. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, we made Ground Kontrol, an imperial stout, 10% alcohol. We make lots of stouts. We're kind of known as a hoppy side brewery, but we really love malty things as well, and really diversify ourselves in the terms of beers that we make. And with this one, we wanted to go with up front, kind of more of a brash imperial stout, but even have a 0.5% of peated malt in it, which can be pretty tricky to use at times. But the beer also has Oregon-grown hazelnuts, cocoa nibs, and star anise, and all of those things come together to make for a really rich, tasty beer. It's a little more on the dessert side in a way, and it's definitely been made to be able to pack away for years in your cellar as well.
So do you guys try to have a specific identity as a brewery? I mean, I know you said you strive for balanced beers, but do you try to be known as an IPA brewery, or do you try to be known as a stout brewery, or you just want to be known as a brewery that makes several good styles?
I think we're kind of that. I mean, we don't have a main demographic either. We believe that all people deserve to drink great beer. So we try to price our beers. So, the Ground Kontrol project is a more expensive beer. We spent a lot of money shooting stuff into space that it wasn't really a part of the original business plan, so to speak. But it was really a worth it project for us. But we also really focus on lagers as well. We have a year-round lager called Lux, which is a Helles-style beer. I fell in love back when I started brewing when I was 17, and I heard people talk about drinking beer. There weren't those conversations were not about a lot of craft beer breweries. There was Red Hook and Widmer and Full Sail and Bridgeport. And even Deschutes wasn't bottling back then. So most of the beers that I got a hold of were actually imports. And so I fell in love with European, especially Bavarian-style lagers at a young age, and have been brewing lagers pretty much my whole career. And definitely when Nikos and I met, that was part of the deal. I was like, I'm patient, I can wait a long time, but at some point we need to be able to make lagers, which obviously take a lot more cellar time and occupy fermenter space. So as we grew at sort of the rate that we grew at, we had to kind of only do lagers here and there, but 18 years later in my career, we're able to have a year-round lager. So we really are kind of, it did take a number of years after our initial start to convince people that when we made beers that weren't super hoppy, that well, not even just if they're credible or not, but people would just like open, it's Bavarian Hefeweizen. What is this? I don't understand what's going on here. So I think already, at least in the Pacific Northwest, and as we spread out a little bit, people get that idea that what we really care about is awesome beer. And we don't tend to be trend followers that much, but we definitely love to make lots of varied styles of beer.
Gil, were you about to say something?
No, but I was just asking, is that the Lux that you're talking about?
Yeah, Lux is a Helles, absolutely.
Okay, because you do like a single. I know a couple brewers do it, but I'm not sure. I think you do like a single hop series too, right?
Yeah, we have we were doing kind of a single hop beer that we were bottling on a quarterly basis, and then it's kind of a way to do some experimentation. Basically the grain bill and the general recipe is exactly the same, except for the hop that we use, and that way it gave people the ability to actually see the nuances and differences. Of course, we were doing those beers at a much lower IBU rating than a lot of people expect, especially out of a brewery like ourselves, and so we were trying to find the subtleties, and especially the experimental hops that we were using. It's something that we will still pursue, but we don't have it as a part of our regular bottle lineup.
So Matt alluded earlier to how Vicky's our furthest west member here. Can you guys talk a little bit about your output in 2014 and any future plans for expansion?
Sure. Yeah, we're Western regional focused. We do some special shipments to other parts of the country for events, so we may add some markets that are great beer markets or kind of good national prestige markets over time. But really, our focus is Western regional. So we're in the Western U.S. primarily, and our goals for expansion are limited in terms of like our presence in markets we're in. I think that that's a good thing for us for a few reasons. One is that we'd like to be involved and be a part of the communities wherever we operate. So having a smaller footprint with a deeper distribution presence allows us to put more resources into the areas where we are available, whether it's people visiting the market or partnership with the communities there. So that's part of our plan, and so that's really our goals moving forward are to stay focused in the Western region with a few opportunities other places where we can have some fun and some beers.
I guess we better do some tracking.
Sorry, Randy. You guys are relatively new here in Arizona. I think you just launched last year.
Yep. Yeah, actually, it was the same week as the second rocket launch.
Yep.
Yes, the second rocket launch, we showed up on a Monday, and the weather was off. There was thunder and lightning going on, and they don't put giant pieces of steel with a bunch of rocket fuel in it into space when that's happening. So actually went from there over to Phoenix and did a couple of events that week, which was really our first big blowout week, and then went back to New Mexico to see the rocket launch on Thursday. So yeah, it would be last October.
You guys had 2 states, right? This last year to your distribution.
Colorado.
What was the other one?
Yeah, let's see. It was Colorado, Arizona, Nevada, and then I think Utah came on right in the beginning of 2015.
Yep, sat with someone on the plane yesterday. First time, just a few weeks ago. Nice. Salt Lake City.
So what are you guys bringing to Savor?
Let's see, for the larger exposition itself, we're bringing Vanilla Otis and Dawn of the Red.
Yes.
Vanilla Otis just won the Good Food Awards. That's out of San Francisco. It's the second year we were lucky enough or fortunate enough to be a part of that program. And Adam, who is the chef for the Brewers Association, he's someone I've known for years, and he has a really deep understanding of our beer, so it's always really wonderful to work with him. And then Dawn of the Red we chose because it's a newer beer for us, but it has a really broad ability to pair with foods in an interesting way, and so Adam really appreciates that. I know, we sent a beer the first year that we were at Savor, and he was able to use goat as a meat for a pairing, and it's something he really wanted to bring to the BA to keep it fresh and hip, and he saw that we had brought the lever and said, wow, I can actually do this. So it's a great relationship for us in that way, and that we have a lot of friends associated with the BA and, of course, with the chefs to be part of that. Then for the salon, we're doing a salon as a focus for ground control. So we'll be serving ground control there, and then also serving Lux or Helles up front while we tell the story, or while I tell the story.
Can't wait.
Yeah, right. Everybody needs to
We're
be
doing
there.
some events. It looks like we're going to have some events at Church Key and some other small events that are going on that week in DC. And I will be also in Philadelphia earlier in that week for Philly Beer Week for Monday and Tuesday doing events there. So there will be some East Coast Ninkasi going on, and you can come and hang out with me there.
My wife is gonna be so mad at me.
It's
gonna be a tough
worth it.
week.
And if I walk in,
Find a bottle of beer that you could put in your suitcase to bring back to her.
well, no, I live up here, so if I walk
He's
into
gonna be mad
Church
because
Key,
he's gone all week. Yeah.
yeah, if I walk into Church Key and see you guys, I'm gonna act like we're old friends. So just for the record.
Well, I'll probably know you more than a lot of the people in that room.
That's touche.
Well, thanks for answering our questions, guys. We're going to shift gears a little bit here. We're going to talk a little bit about, well, first we're going to talk about our sponsor. Our sponsor is craftbeveragejobs.com. They've got a website, and it's a jobs website, and it's cool. And it's jobs in beer, coffee, wine. The job we want to talk about this week is actually a Northwest beer job, Deschutes. I guess there really isn't competitors amongst craft beers, but these are one of the big boys up there, and they've got a database developer job up. Ninkasi, do you guys have database developer jobs, or are you guys still looking for keg washers?
Yeah,
They have Ali.
government level, but
We have some
Yeah,
pretty
you've got Allie. She does
we have
everything.
talented nerds that work for us for sure. That
Yeah.
we'll probably have their job title isn't that, but
There's a
So
close
I'm gonna-
relationship between nerds and beer.
oh, forever.
Craft beer.
Gil and I are IT guys, and Charles is too. And so it's interesting. You never find this kind of stuff on Dice, on the IT jobs website. You got to come to craftbeveragejobs.com to find. Need 3 years of MS SQL server experience, and this database infrastructure, and your project's this. And one of the perks are 401k, health insurance, and beer. So you're not. That's a way better perk than like if I worked at a car dealership and I got 4% off of a new Ford or something. So I think I'll pick the beer.
So you come for the beer, but stay for the money.
You come for the beer and stay for the database development challenge.
And stay for the beer.
Well, that's awesome.
So get your resume into craftbeveragejobs.com if you want to be considered for that job. These are some great folks. We've gotten to be good friends with the folks that run that place over there, and I think the site is definitely worth a look. All right, let's shift gears again, and we'll talk about some news from the week. I think we're going to lead with Randy. You were going to start off today with this the big industry in California thing, right?
Yeah, so we found this article from the LA Times actually, and there's a lot of talk about how many craft breweries there are in the country, and how a lot of people feel as if the market's getting saturated. And I think everyone here knows that I think that that's total poppycock. that the market is being saturated. So this article talks about craft brewing in California. It spoke to the fact that right now there are 550 craft breweries in California, according to the California Brewers Association, and they provide people downplay not downplay, but I think some states, especially in the southeastern United States, downplay the economic impact that craft beer has. The industry in California provides 48,000 jobs. I mean, and they contribute what says more than $1 billion in local, state, and federal taxes. If I were in a state and I heard this, I am tomorrow morning going to work. If I'm the governor and I'm trying to make my state as craft beer friendly as I can to get craft breweries to come to get some of that money. But anyway,
what is the industry sales right now?
The industry sale? Well, no,
for California.
It's more than $1 billion in local, state, and federal taxes, and the total economic impact that the industry had on California in 2014 was $6.5 billion. And they grew from 2013 to 2014. There's a 24% growth in breweries operating in the state. So to say that it's saturated, that might be a little far-fetched. And so those numbers are big, right? Well, if you take Oregon, for example, California, their breweries make 3.4 million barrels of beer a year. In Oregon, they produce 1.6 million barrels, but they only have their population in Oregon is only 1/10 of California's population. So on a per capita basis, Oregon is killing it, right? No surprise to you guys, right? No surprise because you're in the thick of it. But
Well,
the point is, go ahead, Matt.
well, I was just gonna say Oregon grows a third of all hops in the world, right? Or America.
Yeah, it's about 18% of the crop. Probably for us, because we use a lot of aroma hops, that we're probably closer to like a 30% of the hops that we use. But we live within 70 miles of the hop producers, so we have deep relationships with them, and also our malt suppliers are also really just up in Vancouver, Washington, only 100 miles away, and most of the barley that we use is grown in Montana and Idaho. So we're very regional in terms of the ingredient source. And it's another thing as far as that aggregate of economic impact. You have people that make glass bottles, cardboard, cardboard for beer cases, all kinds of different support industries that are all a part of that craft beer industry as well. And,
I mean, you got all those database developers up there. So
a lot of database going on. I know I get probably 30 or 40 IT-related emails spam a day. So.
Well, it's no surprise that a lot of states are changing their laws to get craft beer.
Well, they should. I mean,
I think it was 19.6 billion last year. I don't know. It's a huge number for craft beer. U.S. total sales in U.S. So you imagine that sales, what kind of impact, as they have in general. I mean, how much money on other industry like cardboards making 6-packs or boxes and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's a trickle effect, right? I don't want to say trickle down economics,
but
it's like what we saw with the auto industry. You shut down an auto plant, and you don't just hurt that plant; you hurt so many suppliers to the industry. And the last point I want to make about this is, if you think that the market is saturated, Los Angeles, the article says, brewed less than 60,000 barrels in 2014, right? The greater Los Angeles population alone is bigger than the entire state of Oregon. So if you think that there's saturation right there, just in Los Angeles alone, there's a tremendous amount of growth opportunity available. So the market is not saturated, people.
First, I think we ought to call this sparging economics. Right? No, let's take that trickle down. Sparging economics.
Yes.
And then secondly, I bet my money on the Pacific Northwest, because they have something that California doesn't have, and that's going to impact the numbers next year, and that's water.
Water. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if that's if we talked with in an email or on a phone or something with the guys from Bear Republic, and they were saying that they've got to formulate a business plan based on the rising costs and the limited availability of water next year. So that's a real concern.
Well, for the city, Bear Republic built a well for their city, paid for it themselves, so that they could get actually more water because the Russian River is so depleted right now.
Wow, I didn't know that. That's incredible.
Yeah, the governor actually called for a statewide reduction in water use by 25%, both on the business and home level. It'll be interesting how that applies to breweries.
Right. So how are they going to grow when they have to use 25%? That's definitely a business impact, especially in a period of.
Well, they're growing by going to different states. Like, look, just last year, how many breweries came to the East Coast?
Yeah, they're going to relocate and brew over here. Yeah, or do something to that effect for sure.
Because they can always ship it back, but you can never make more water.
Yeah, one of the stories there that we looked at this week was Deschutes is looking at. A couple of weeks ago, we talked them looking at Greenville. Now they're looking at Charleston, South Carolina, too. So I guess every economic developer on the East Coast is optimistic about landing a Deschutes eastbound craft brewery. So.
And I heard a rumor as well from some friends from Asheville that Deschutes has been looking in the Asheville region.
So the Carolinas have got it all over craft beer right now.
They say the air and the water there is like nowhere else.
Yeah, and Ken Grossman driving a great big stake in the ground and saying this is craft beer, really doesn't hurt.
It doesn't.
Yeah.
If you need somebody to, open up Ninkasi East.
Yeah. Yeah. If you're out here in D.C., we'll just talk. We'll find you. real estate in DC is pretty cheap. So
No, it doesn't have to be DC. I can move. I'm mobile.
Preferably not DC, right?
Right.
Somewhere further south.
Get me out of here.
Yeah. Hey, Lola, talk to us a little bit about the class action suit. Just a little bit. This story probably doesn't warrant a lot of time on it, but I thought it was funny.
Well, all right. It is kind of silly. This guy is claiming that, he is filing a class action lawsuit against Miller's Core because of Blue Moon. He said he's been drinking Blue Moon in San Diego for years, and he was misled into thinking that it was craft beer. And he has a class action lawsuit to get his money back, plus other people, the public in California, to get their money back and also damages. Now, yeah.
This is a money grab. This is a money grab.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I think it is. But I looked to see if I qualified. I don't qualify because you have to be in California, it says. But, hey, I had Blue Moon like 3 years ago.
Lola, the guy referred to himself as a craft beer aficionado, right?
Yeah.
And he's buying Blue Moon not knowing that that's not craft beer?
Right.
I think that's a ploy. My guess is he probably knew. I'm thinking he was like, hey, let's make some money.
Well,
yeah. Probably he's actually trying to get back the emotional damages from being made fun of by his friends.
Probably.
So he probably stopped buying Blue Moon, now he's buying Third Shift, right?
He has a better chance to win that lawsuit with that.
To steal pros from Matt in this litigious society, this guy would have been better off not saying that he was a craft beer aficionado.
Yeah, he shouldn't have done that.
If you're gonna try to sue Blue Moon for saying that they're craft, because if you're aficionado, you should have known that. So you kind of shot yourself in the foot. But
a beer aficionado should do a class action lawsuit against him for defamation.
I think it shows
our character. How dare he pretend to be one of us?
I definitely think it shows the watering down of the word aficionado. I'm a Doritos aficionado. I've had the regular and the Cool Ranch.
Look, the wine I buy is generally $10 or less. I am not an aficionado for wine, and I would not pretend.
And that's for a box of it, right, Lo?
It actually comes in a box, right?
A gallon jug.
Well, all right. So this guy, he made some headlines. I mean, what's the redhead? Conan O'Brien was talking about it. So I guess he got exactly what he wanted. He got some headlines, and I guess there are no more people being fooled by what Blue Moon is.
Those are the things that I think is wrong with the world. When this kind of news gets so much, media is just that's wrong. That we talk so, but it's so funny.
Here we are talking about him, right?
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying. At which point we became so trivial,
Yeah.
But is this also this guy's sort of payback to Budweiser and stuff for that Super Bowl ad? It's like, don't make fun of us and then try to pretend to be us at the same time.
Yeah.
Well, and the lawsuit does make some good points. They do not, on the Blue Moon bottles, they do not put Miller Coors anywhere on there. It's like, it's like they're hypocritical. They're macro brewery, but they're trying to hone in on our area of microbrewery. So in a way, I kind of like to see them get a little slapped around.
Yeah, they're not hypocritical. They're brilliant marketers. So they're not trying to impress you with the taste. They're trying to market to make you buy it. So, all right. Well, that guy's got enough of our airtime. American Craft Beer Week is Gil. When is that? Is that just coming up here now?
Right. It's May 11th. Yeah. I mean, it's one of the few things that you look forward, and it's not a specific city or a state. It's countrywide. So. I think did you mention you're going to be in Philly for that, or? I'm
in Philly for the Monday and Tuesday of Philly Beer Week, so that's
okay.
Philly Beer Week. Just following it. So basically I head out during that week and we'll be sort of testing it. We have Eugene Beer Week the same week, so it'll be kind of weird for me not to be in Eugene during Eugene Beer Week.
So just a shout out to the. To the BA for having that every year. So this year is going to be May 11th. to 17th.
So it kind
And-
of harkens back to freshman year in college, right? It's 12 o'clock somewhere, man. Let's crack one open. It's beer week somewhere, so let's...
Yeah, that's exactly, you're right, because next week is actually, I'll be in Seattle for Seattle Beer Week, and then Philly Beer Week is the same week as Eugene Beer Week. So we finally got in there. There's only 52 weeks. There's a lot of stuff
right.
here.
And you know, to Randy's point,
Gotta make some beer too.
To Randy's point, all of those events are sold out. It's so hard to get tickets nowadays. It's people just seeking for it. So.
I don't know how many tickets they sold to Savor, but they sold them out like the day or the day after they went on sale.
You guys got the saloon, right? We didn't get it. I mean, it was so overwhelming. It was gone by the time we were there like counting the seconds to click and stuff.
Yeah, I was ready, man. I was on a good high-speed internet connection, ready to F5 my way through the menus to get what I needed there. So.
That's like me 20 years ago.
Like getting Burning Man tickets. It's impossible.
That's what I was saying. I was thinking Tori Amos. That was me waiting.
Savor, Burning Man, same thing, really.
Tori Amos, Burning Man, it's all the same.
Well, maybe Jamie will let Matthew walk out with ground control outside of the saloon. Just stretch his arm and I'll grab some.
There's all kinds of possibilities.
We'll get you a sip, Gil. I'll take a flask in, Gil. All right. Oh wait, now they know I'm coming up. Crap. Beer
for some ground control. Make that
happen. Beer releases. We're going to talk about new releases. What's your next release, guys?
Good question. Well, we just released last week Made in the Shade, which is our summer IPA that we put out. It's beer that we've been making for a few years. We have a couple of different R&D. So we have a small program of R&D beers in which we just do draft only for smaller markets, sort of research and call it rare and delicious. And we have a beer called Boss Hop, and which is a different IPA than the ones that we make, and then also a caraway IPA that's going to be coming out. So it's a rye beer that also has caraway rye.
I'm sensing a theme in your beer lineup.
Well, we just put out a bunch of non-hoppy beers, so we're kind of trying to bring the balance back to the hoppy side.
Yeah.
So which style is the Made in Return?
What's that?
Which style is the Made in Return? Did I get the name right?
And we make that for there's a cultural music and arts fair that's out here in Eugene called the Oregon Country Fair. It's been around for I think it's 44 years now. And we're responsible for doing the beer for the entertainment and staff of that festival. And it's a beer that we made sort of in tribute to that years ago, and people love it, so we keep making it. It's got a really extra easy drinkability to it, and a lot of dank hops in it. So it smells, there's 8 hop varieties that are in the beer, and it kind of smells a lot like what you smell around Country Fair.
We also received a cease and desist letter from Iron Maiden, which is a personally proud moment.
Oh man,
Threatened to sue us, and then a few months later asked if we'd be willing to make Trooper for him in the United States, which was a pretty funny moment for us. A year ago, I would have freaked out, been like, "That's the greatest moment of my life," but yeah.
She's like, but no.
Yeah.
You're used to space now. What else can you do, right?
Yeah, I mean, everybody loves Eddie. Still, and Eddie still peeks out of the tree on the side of it. We had to change the font. He was upset with the font that we used, the font that looked a lot like the Iron Maiden font. And,
so if we can't sue you into taking this down, we're going to give you some design notes. Is that what I want?
Well, it's pretty funny. I mean, we've been making Slayer as our winter seasonal forever, and we've got lots of pictures of Kerry King drinking Slayer. He's certainly not anything like Iron Maiden or Metallica as far as that stuff goes.
It's an homage.
It totally is an homage. I mean, that's the thing. That was the weirdest thing about it. It's like you love a band forever, but I still Run for the Hills. I heard that on the radio today. I was like super excited. I still love Iron Maiden. It's just don't necessarily want to drink beers with Bruce Dickinson anymore. It's the same for him. He wants to drink beer with me and he doesn't know it.
Well, to give equal time to the other breweries around here, Heavy Seas has got Blackbeard's Breakfast Imperial Coffee Porter, aged in bourbon barrels, coming out on the 13th. I think Hugh was talking about that one too.
They'll be in Savor as well.
I need to find that.
Oh, that's right. They're
doing a special collab with Yards for Savor.
Filtermore or Phillimore or Filtermore.
You know what else is pouring is Foolery from the Hardywood Park. Is they're going to pour that at Savor too. So get your taste buds ready, guys. Founders has got Rubius Raspberry Ale that released last Friday. I saw that on the shelf today. Actually, had a bottled on date in March. I guess the raspberry stuff isn't something that's going to fade real quick. Dewclaw and has got Hop Continuum No. 2 Mosaic Red IPA. Mosaic. Oh, that's the only word they needed to put in that title.
Yeah.
To get me interested in.
He got me at Mosaic.
Yeah, you had me at Mosaic. Coronado, which is actually going to be our guest. Who we got? What's his name? Brooks, Robert Brooks.
Mm-hmm.
Is going to be on the show next week. This time, they've got their Senor Saison Belgian ale brewed with jalapenos. I can't even. There's lots of words in here that I can't pronounce. There's like little tildes over top of the end. That came out a couple days ago, so we'll talk to them about that next week.
They use a piloncillo, which is that crushed like compressed sugar too. There, it must be sweet as heck.
So, what's a jalapenos? Is that a pepper?
Jalapenos. Oh, that's my. Sorry, I
didn't put the P in there.
Yeah, all right, sorry.
It was jalapenos. I'm sorry, jalapenos and pilo chilo. Yeah.
Sweet and hot. All right. Bear Republic's got Mach 10, their double IPA that's coming out. 9.2 is the ABVs on that, and 100 IBUs. So that came out last week. Crooked Stave there in Denver has got Batch 50 Grand Cru, wild aged for 22 months in wine barrels. That comes out on the 13th. Harpoon has got Take 5, their session IPA, here this month, and Trogs has got a scratch. They do all their kind of small releases as a scratch. Their Scratch 188 is a Belgian-style farmhouse ale coming out today. And Boulevard, we had them on a few weeks ago. That was a lot of fun with Jeremy, and they've got their Hibiscus Goza German-style sour out today. So that's a re-release, right? I think they've.
Yeah, they did that last year.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Festivals.
It's a good beer.
Seattle's got a beer week. We talked about that. Starts today through next week. Jacksonville's got a beer fest. Jack's Beer Fest. That's actually just one day on the 15th. What day of the week is the 15th? Is that Saturday next week?
Let's see, 5/9 is a Saturday.
15 is Friday.
All right, next Friday, if you're in Jacksonville, check out Jack's Beer Fest. American Craft Beer Fest in Seaport World Center in Boston. That's the 29th and the 30th. Got a little time to get your tickets for that. But if it's like anything else, the tickets are probably sold out, so you'll have to try and buy them from a scalper. Beer, Bourbon, and Barbecue in Charlotte. San Francisco International Beer Festival is the 9th in San Francisco. Oklahoma City Beer Week is the 9th through the 17th. Chicago's Beer Week is the 14th through the 24th. Here's one that we can get into. The American Canned Beer Festival is in Scottsdale Civic Center in Arizona on the 16th. Is that one moves around, right? That's a festival they do a couple of different places each year.
I don't know.
I think
thought that was
so.
the second.
Yeah.
Wasn't Charles talking about going to that? Or was it...
No, not to the one you heard.
This was in Scottsdale.
Well, you said it
That
moves
was
around.
Ricky.
Charles talking about Beer I Can, or... Don't be afraid to... There you go, Charles.
Beer Canna in Raleigh.
Okay.
That's
Raleigh,
insane.
all right. Vicky, are you going to the American Festival in Scottsdale?
Nope, not going.
All right. The Brewers Association's American Craft Beer Week. We talked about hundreds of places around the country, 11th through the 17th. Jamie's going to be in Philly, so try and find him. Nikos is going to be in New York, but on holiday, so leave him the hell alone.
I have a ground control event at Barcade on Tuesday night at 8:30. The Barcade in Chelsea. So.
There you go. Come
All
out
right,
and support.
in Chelsea on
Nice.
Tuesday. And this stuff's all available like on the interwebs. So just Google these guys, and then I guess kind of beer stalk them. I guess that's a real thing these days. So
That's what Instagram is.
it's like these people in the '60s. They like followed the dead around Europe, and then there's these people that like follow Nikos around the U.S. or something. So it's like,
Where's Nikos?
yeah,
So,
where's
Nikos?
Nikos?
Do you guys do you can anything, or do you bottle your beer?
All bottles.
Okay. Any plans to expand to cans? Oh.
Expanded cans.
Not anytime soon. If we built a packaging hall in the future, we'd probably include this canning line. But we've kind of developed a level of quality and standards that we can't kind of go back to having sort of a intro level canning machine or sort of that kind of stuff. We did that when we started with bottles, and we really want we don't want to go backwards with quality. Not to say that canning can't be totally the same quality as bottles. It's just we have a 40-head Crohn's bottling system that actually came from Old Dominion on the East Coast originally, and it's you get to that level of quality and standards, and you don't want to go backwards. So it's not out.
It makes the can line expensive.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Yes, yeah. The point is,
Yeah.
So like, you can't do it halfway.
Do you do most of your beers both bombers and 12 ounces? It seems that I've seen both sizes.
Yeah, we are diversified within the bottle market.
Okay, cool.
They got it all covered. Corked and caged, we're not your guy. Just all caps, though, right? So.
Yeah, that's still that way, absolutely. Someday we might have a cork and cager for some fun projects.
But that sounds like a lot of work, to be honest with you. So, I mean,
Well, it's all been a lot of work, so.
They went to space. If they can go to space, they
yeah,
can
they're right.
cork
They've been
and
to
cage.
space. Right. They did freeze-dried beer to send up in space. Add water, shake it up, down it. All right, guys, that's we're going to call the show a night. Next week we've got Coronado on the show. Really, our thanks to Jamie and Nikos for cutting an hour and a half out of their time to hang out with us and talk about their brewery. I hope you enjoyed it, and just go find their stuff if you're on the West Coast. If you're not, trade for it. That Tricera hops is definitely one you're going to want to try and get in your glass if you're a hop head like me. So again, thanks to them. Until next week, everybody, find some good friends, find some great beer, and mind those P's and Q's.
Thank you.
This has been Pints and Quarts, brought to you by Craft Beer Nation. You can show your support for our podcast by subscribing to our content on YouTube, Stitcher, iTunes, or our website, craftbeernation.org. Thanks for listening.